So hopefully you read the little bit about the test of independence. There's a new, well, it's the same way, the same formula for chi-square, but there is a new way to get the expected value, and you see that equation in the middle of the page. So we're going to see that in the midst of this problem when we get to step 2. And then the degrees of freedom is a little bit different as well, so we'll see that when we do the p-value. Let me read problem number 3. The San Diego Community College District conducts a study to see if a student's anxiety level is related to their college GPA. A sample of 200 randomly selected students across the district are surveyed. And what you see there in that table, you might recognize it as a contingency table. So we've got 3 different levels of anxiety: high, medium, and low. And then we've got 2 categories for GPA. Was the student between 3.0 and 4.0, or was the student somewhere between 2.0 and 3.0? And so we can see the numbers for their anxiety level and where their GPA falls. And of course, with the contingency table, we see the totals there on the far left and the totals there at the bottom, and then in the bottom right is the total of totals, and that's 200 because it says they sampled 200 students. So that's the total number sampled right there. Okay, then it says at alpha equals 0.01, can the district conclude that anxiety level and GPA are related? So in the test of independence, we're looking, are 2 things related or not? Are they independent or are they dependent? Independent would be that they're not related. Dependent, that one influences the other. Somehow they are connected. So is anxiety level and GPA, are these things connected? So, well, what does that mean? How are we going to set up our null and alternative hypotheses? Okay, we're always going to assume that the two variables are not related. Okay, we're always going to assume that there's no connection between them. That is the safe bet. You don't want to assume that things are connected, because that would, there's clearly bias there, and like just your own personal experiences. Of course, anxiety and GPA are connected. Like, we can't say that, even no matter how strongly we feel. Okay, so we always assume there's no connection. You know, and you can think of like some silly, some silly analogies kind of help. Like, hey, is anxiety level and shoe size, are those related? There's a chance anxiety level and shoe size are related, but we definitely don't want to go in assuming that. Okay, so same with GPA. Like, just because we have experience with it ourselves, or we see it, a lot, or, maybe there's something else going on. We can never assume things are related. Okay, I think I made my point. Anxiety level and GPA are not related is our null hypothesis. You might replace the word related with independent. You certainly could. I like the word related. It's independent, is, I think related is just makes the connection more clear. Like, these things are connected. All right, so then what will be the alternative hypothesis? Well, we're just going to say the opposite, although here it's the not. So we're just going to remove the not. Anxiety level and GPA are related. Of course, you could replace the word related with dependent. That one influences the other somehow. Okay, moral of the story. For a test of independence, you always assume not related. And then this is the opposite, that they are related. We want, is there enough evidence that there is a connection? Okay, let's go on to step 2. Now here, we really see something new. We're going to create an expected table. Okay, so we have no idea, right? All we've got given to us is that contingency table. And so we actually have to do some work to figure out what exactly is expected for each of the categories. Okay, and truth is, at this point, and I know I've got it on the screen there, but what are the categories? How many categories are there? I mean, we talk about there's 3 levels of anxiety. There's 2 GPA, you know, there's 2 possibilities for answers there. So if there are 3 possible answers for anxiety and 2 possible answers for GPA, then you can see that gives us the 6 categories total. So here they are, and I've got something filled in right here, but we'll get to that in a minute before we're computing the rest. Okay, so if I have 3 levels of anxiety, I just put high, medium, low, and 2 levels of GPA, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, that gives me 6 possible categories that any one person could fit into. Right? So maybe you ask a student and they're low anxiety with a 3 to 4 GPA, you know, so that's the category they would fit out of the possibility of 6. All right. Now, how do we get the values for each of the 6 categories? How did I get this number right there? Okay, so we've got that formula. I wrote it again here. The expected number, it's the row total times the column total divided by the total observed. Okay, so let's work that out. So when I'm looking at high anxiety and 3 to 4 GPA, I'm going to take the row total. So it's not in this little grid, but in the contingency table, I'm going to look over here at the total for that row. So for 3 to 4 GPA, the total of that row was 115, right? Okay. Then, where should I put this? Then I'm going to look at the column total. So go down, high anxiety, what is it there? It's 90, right? So I'm going to multiply. Okay, then I'm going to divide all that by the total observed. That's the total of totals, which is 200. So, cannot figure this out. So row total for this number right there, I go row total, column total, divided by total of totals, and I got a different number than what I have there. Oh, okay, 115 times 90 over 200. Okay, wow. 51.75. Well, I'm glad I did this live here. So my other numbers might be off as well. Okay. Well, let's go through. That was a surprise. Let's go through and get the next one. So for medium anxiety, I'm going to look at the medium anxiety and 3 to 4 GPA. What's that going to be? Row total, 115. Column total, 55, divided by the 200. And I'm just going to take that whole thing, 31.625. I'm going to try not to round if I don't have to. All right, keep going. Low anxiety, 3 to 4 GPA. So that was 115 times 55. Oh, also 55 there. Well, it should come out the same then, right? 31.625. Okay, moving here. High anxiety, 2 to 3 GPA. So I'll take the row total, 85, times column total, 90, divided by 200. 38.25. Okay, looking good. For the next one, row total, still 85, times column total, 55, divided by 200. 23.375. And the very last one, row total, 85, times column total, 55, divided by 200, also, well, those were the same numbers, so 23.375 there as well. So it definitely takes a little bit of work to get those expected. Where does this formula come from, you might ask? If we were in class together, I would definitely explain it. But for the purposes of these videos, it's just not, it's not conducive to video. So if you want to know, come and ask me in the live sessions. It actually goes back to the probability chapter we did. I think it was like chapter 3. Okay, ask me there. But if you don't care, I'm okay with that as well. You just got to know how to do it. You're not going to need to know why that is. All right, so we've got all of our expected values. Now we can finally create our big table here. Okay. So of course we've got observed, expected, and observed minus expected squared over expected. And then we've got our 6 categories: high and 3 to 4, high and 2 to 3, medium and 3 to 4, medium and 2 to 3, low and 3 to 4, low and 2 to 3. That's the way I decided to order them. They don't have to be in this order, so long as they're all there. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill these out. These are going to be the expecteds. So we'll get to that in the second row. How are we going to fill in the observed? Well, that comes directly from our table. Okay, so how many did we observe that have high anxiety and 3 to 4 GPA? 60, right? Maybe I'll just fill in the expected now and we can kind of talk about that. What's the expected for high and 3 to 4? 51.75. Ooh, okay. So based on our data, if we really went and asked 200 people, we would expect that 51.75 would say this. But actually, more than that said it. 60 people said it. If these really were independent, then we would expect 51.75, but we got something different. Of course, we assume independence. Okay, let's go to the next one. What did we observe for high and 2 to 3? 30. High anxiety, 2 to 3 GPA. What's the expected? High anxiety, 2 to 3. 38.25. If these really were independent, we would expect that number, but we got something quite a bit less. Well, let's go ahead and fill the rest in. Medium and 3 to 4 is 35. But here it says 31.625. Medium and 2 to 3 is 20. Medium 2 to 3. Well, this one's pretty close, 23.375. Low and 3 to 4 is 20. But we would expect 31.625. Well, that's quite a bit. That's quite a difference there. Low and 2 to 3 from the table, we got from the survey 35, right? But we calculated here 23.375. Let me just go through and make sure all of these, I copied them right. I have a tendency to mix these up. 60, 30, 35, 20, 20, 35. Okay, looks good. Whew. All right, well, let's fill each of these in. So 60 minus 51.75 squared divided by 51.75. Now this we're definitely going to have to round. I got 1.315. I'm just going to go to 3 decimal places there just to keep it accurate enough. Okay, going to the next one. 30 minus 38.25 squared divided by 38.25. 1.779. Okay. Next one, parentheses 35 minus 31.625 squared divided by 31.625. This is a smaller number because they're fairly close. 0.360. Okay, 20 minus 23.375 squared divided by 23.375. Another small one, 0.487. Okay, next, this is a bigger one. 20 minus 31.625 squared divided by 31.625. Well, 4.273. And the last one is also pretty big. 5.781. Okay. Hopefully you got the same numbers I did. Well, what's next? We're going to add all these up. Now, my suspicion is what's on my paper is wrong. So, because I had that other number wrong earlier. I added something else here. So let's see what happens. So I got 14.01, but I'm going to go ahead and check that. So 1.315 plus 1.779 plus 0.360 plus 0.487 plus 4.273 plus 5.781. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit different. I got 13.995, or if you rounded it, you could round it to, well, that would round that guy, and it would just be 14.00. I had 14.01 there a moment ago. So probably won't influence my final answer. Anyway, there's our test statistic here. It's a lot of work to get the test statistic in the test of independence. But now, we're just moments away. In step 3, okay, the other difference in these problems is how you get the degrees of freedom. It's the row categories minus 1 multiplied by the column categories. So we have the 6 categories, but there's overlap, right? So 2 of them have high anxiety, 2 have medium anxiety, you know, like parts of them appear multiple times. So we're going to say how many row categories are there? And when we think, go back to that expected table. So we had high, medium, low, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, right? So when we say the row categories, these are the row categories. There's 2 of them. The column categories, there are 3. 3 columns. So we subtract 1 from each and then multiply. So that means 2 minus 1 times 3 minus 1, that's 1 times 2. We have 2 degrees of freedom here. So be cautious of that. A lot of people jump right in because they think it's going to work. You know, they kind of just fly through it, and They use the old style of every other type of question, and they forget that this one's a little different. Okay, so only 2 degrees of freedom here. Well, I gotta change this. I'm gonna use 14.00 because that's how it rounds to 2. Let me grab my calculator. 2 degrees of freedom. It's a greater than, always, 14.00. And that's probably going to change this. Actually, no. It rounds. It still rounds to 0.0009 when I go to 4 places. Okay. So it's time for step 4. Let's compare that with alpha. Well, alpha is definitely bigger here. Easily. Easily. So what does that mean? We reject the null hypothesis, and there's the interpretation. There is enough evidence that anxiety level and GPA are related. Very easy to state the interpretation for these sorts of questions, because all you got to say is there's not enough evidence that they're related, or there is enough evidence that the 2 variables are related. There's nothing going to be long-winded here. We have the evidence that these 2 things are related. We reject the fact that they're not related. Plenty of evidence, lots and lots of evidence to say that. All right, guys. Hopefully you were able to follow me along there despite my mistakes. See you in the live session.